this special episode of On the Record, TSTV News sat down with Student Body President Grace Kelly and Vice President Elle Grinnell to reflect on their time in office. While a breakdown of the interview is available now at tstvnews.com, we wanted to share the interview in its entirety. This interview was recorded on March 3rd during the campus-wide elections.
Your term's ending soon. How does it feel?
I'm excited. If you don't, I've probably gotten 10 more gray hairs, some more wrinkles, look a little bit more stressed, tired. I'm ready to finally get some sleep, relax. I'm also proud of us.
Yeah.
I feel like Grace and I have completed a ton during our term, and so that's been really exciting. At the beginning of it, we said we wanted to come in, act on the things that we were passionate about and had in our platform, and then also have good relationships with administrators so that we could get those things done. And we've done exactly that, so I'm proud.
I think it's definitely bittersweet because this has been the best opportunity, but it's time to move forward, but get some rest. But I was texting her just looking through all of our photos, and it's just been a crazy year. We've gotten so close, and also we've been able to, like she said, accomplish everything that we set out to do. So it's a sense of pride, but also a sense of sadness at the same time, very melancholic.
Yeah, and we'll get to all of those things that you accomplished in a moment. But first, a lot has changed in the last year, especially in terms of university leadership. So how have you guys had to adapt to those changes and kind of help students in student government and outside of student government adapt as well?
I think we've really made sure that the student voice and student concerns remain the utmost topic of all of these changes. With the change of president, we were on his day one agenda. We met with him on the first day of his job on last Monday, and we just were sharing him about how important it is to meet with student leaders and to listen to their concerns. We've also, through all these, it's still our priority to heighten these relationships and really work together as a team. And all these new leaders are just adding to that network and that team. And so we've just really aimed to still continue in those relationships and thrive and grow as a team.
Yeah.
Was he receptive to that student leader conversation?
Oh, very, yes. He kind of actually opened up that conversation. His point of discussion was, how do I be a good president to students, and how do I listen to their concerns? And so I really appreciated hearing from that and working together. And I mean, we only have so much left, but I'm excited to pass the baton off and see how they can continue in that relationship.
So we spoke here about a year ago now, I think, and we talked about your 5 platforms, which were cultivating equality, mental health, food accessibility, career development, and access and autonomy. So I wanted to kind of go through those one by one and talk about what you guys campaigned on and what you've accomplished in the last year, because it seems like you have done a couple of things that we should definitely talk about. So you guys had said last year that your priority was cultivating equality. So I wanted to start there. One of your campaign points was allocating funds to support diverse student organizations, especially at the time in the wake of SB 17 and even now as we're responding to SB 17. So can you first start by telling me what the student body president and vice president can do in terms of allocating funds? What do you guys have access to?
Right. What we have access to is just the student government, allocation of org money. So student government is in charge of allocating, student orgs can apply to student government to allocate those funds. I don't have the specific details, but we hit unprecedented numbers of how much money we were able to give to orgs based on who applied. And I think, I don't want to say the wrong number, but we reached about a certain amount, and this year we went about almost $10,000 to $20,000 over that, because we really wanted to emphasize that need for student orgs to be feel that they have our financial support, and that goes into also supporting our agencies. So within student government, we also fund student government agencies that kind of function similar to orgs and clubs, but they work simultaneously to accomplish the executive alliance, policy platform. So we have a mental health agency, and they help us kind of plan events and create a community, but also move forward with our mental health policy platform. So I would say that I've been really proud of our financial director specifically. Her name's Shivani, but she has really emphasized that need for student orgs to get the money that they need to really achieve their goals, and that was through reaching these record-breaking numbers. She's also done a really great job of ensuring that there's that financial transparency between student orgs and that allocation, because we want to know what that money is being spent on, for example, an organization could apply, we need $10,000 for 5 pizzas, and she's like, okay, let's kind of cut back here, see how much 5 pizzas actually cost, and then we'll allocate you that money. And so working together between the orgs and her, she's sending millions of emails to them and really working together to ensure that everyone's on the same page and that money is getting spent efficiently. Yeah.
Do you know how much money student government has that you guys are like allocating?
I don't know the specific amount for allocations. We had a meeting about this last week, and I should know the amount off the top of my head, but I can get you that number as well.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Do you know if that changes year to year, or?
So it doesn't. We have a financial budget committee that kind of reviews what money they're going to budget into different things. We also have what's called rollover funds. So those are money that student government got during COVID, but we couldn't use. So we've really tried to maximize that amount of funds that we're using from that. So it's not just sitting and going to waste, but rather we're putting it towards student orgs and ensuring that the money's going back into the pockets of students.
Yeah, so circling back to like tying that, how that ties to cultivating equality,
Mm-hmm.
do you guys feel like you accomplished that goal of getting that money to those diverse organizations?
Yeah, I definitely do. I feel like we tried to make sure that we like got the word out about them a bit more, about the like appropriations and the way that the money can go to student orgs. So we definitely saw a large amount of like applications and whatnot, which was really good.
I think that also is showing through our record-breaking applications for the allocations. So many orgs are now more aware of that process and where they can get money, and we saw that increase through that application cycle. So I would say yes.
Absolutely. Do you know what those organizations were able to do with those funds?
So our financial director does that tracking basis. That's just something we have to delegate through her, but she's able to communicate, and they give her reviews of what they're using that money for. So I would say it's all been, she's very good at making sure it's productive and a good use of the money, and is very great about ensuring that we're not giving too much to one org or too little to another org, but everyone's using the money and can always apply if they need more.
Okay, so there is a bit of like an accountability process on where that money
Yes.
is. Awesome. Well, moving to your second kind of platform within cultivating equality, you guys had talked about the difficulty students were having with kind of getting room reservations for specific organizations, and you talked about creating a form to ease that process.
Right.
Was that something you were able to do or address in a different way?
We didn't necessarily create the form, but we definitely like helped out people who were like help out different organizations that were like struggling with it. So if they came to us and were like, hey, for some reason like we're unable to do this, we would like kind of try to help and be like, okay, like where are you trying to reserve for what time, and see if we could help like on our end with the connections that we have. And most of the time we were pretty successful.
I think also the student government office has also been open. We've seen a lot of organizations and specifically our agencies really embracing that space and using that for meetings. I think also the form of, like, I think cultivating equality also was embracing that the connectivity between students and student leaders. I think that is probably further in the points, but within our newsletter, which we'll talk about, is we have an input form on there. So it's a direct channel between students and us. And so if you want to click that input form and share, we're having difficulty with the student process or student reservation for rooms and things, and they could submit that on the input form, and we'll directly outreach to those students and get them connected to where they need to be.
Okay, so instead of the original plan of the form, kind of more directly working with those organizations.
Yeah.
Correct.
Awesome. Well, one of the other things on cultivating equality was these town halls, which I saw you guys were holding those last semester. It seemed like pretty frequently monthly. It sounded like. So what kind of initiatives or actions came out of those town hall meetings?
Yeah. The town halls have been great. So the way we decided to like go with it was each of the town halls was kind of focused on like a different issue that's important to students. So whether that's like housing, and we partnered with the Housing Tenants
Union.
Yeah. And then like food insecurity. So like each one just kind of had a different topic. And then at the end, anyone can bring anything that they want to bring up to the town hall, to the room. And so I think it was very productive. Not only do we get like to hear from students about issues that are bothering them, but then also like the availability to partner with different orgs about topics that matter to most students was really great. So we got to just think of different ways to kind of combat those, which has been good.
And they went so smoothly. Now we've completely given it to one of the agencies to continue running, which is really great that they were so successful. We're kind of allowed to take our hands off and allow for that to be a student government initiative that is now just continual and running, and I really hope that that continues into the next alliance or next term. And we were also able to attend those town halls, and at the end of the town halls, the room is kind of sectioned into discussion points, and so we had students write on Post-it notes what their thoughts were, and then we would all break out into discussion. And so then we would take those Post-it notes, and I would write them down in all these points and then deliver that to admin, say this is what students were talking about at our town hall, this is what their concerns are. So it was really a direct line between student concerns and administration and acting on that. And it was a great, like, you also build a sense of community, and also seeing so many new faces by partnering with different organizations was also a great way to kind of combine in our efforts.
Are there any specific success stories?
Oh, you asked about that, yes.
No, you're good.
So one of them, most recently, I would say the predominant success is that we were able to have this discussion in community, and a lot of cultivating equality was emphasizing the need for student leaders and students to connect and discuss and embrace in these initiatives and work together. We did discuss free printing at one of the meetings, and Dylan, who is he's not in student government, but he took the initiative to write a free printing legislation, but he talked about that at the town hall and is now moving forward, and we kind of discussed at that town hall, like, other students learned about his efforts and his initiative and what he wants to accomplish, and now he's working towards passing that in the assembly. So very proud of him on that, because that would ensure free printing for students on campus if it's granted. We also, in working with the tenants union, we directly connected students discussing housing and their concerns to student leaders who are working towards that. So creating that sense of community, and also knowing students who they can reach out to if they are having a housing concern, also creating that connection. So I would say that the predominant goal that was accomplished through them was bridging that community and building those connections between students.
Yeah. So circling back to that printing kind of initiative, I saw that there's like a petition going around and things like that as well. Do you know what the status is on working with administration to accomplish that? Yeah, so they worked with the UT library system on that. They have different sponsors, and they were told it would be about $2 per student that would go into their account for free printing, which $2 doesn't seem like a lot, but if each page is approximately 10 cents, it's a substantial amount of pages. So they were working with administrators, and we kind of got to see that the process work within the legislative branch, and the status of that bill, the status of that is that it should be passed tomorrow at Assembly if anyone wants to go from 7 to 9. There's been some delays in the process as they continuously draft and rework through the bill, but excited to see the possibility of that. Yeah, for sure. Well, before I move on from cultivating equality, is there anything you guys wanted to add about that?
I think is a newsletter in cultivating equality?
Is our newsletter? I think our newsletter is under Cultivating Equality. We also started a newsletter during our term, which has been super duper great. It goes to, I think, anyone who's registered within OrangeLink or in a student org, and it has an 80% open rate, which is really great. And we kind of just share information for the coming month, different events that our agencies are having, different events that student government is having, and then like resources as well. And then if we're teaming up with any organization or anybody, for example, like Neighborhood Longhorn Program, we will put like information about them into our newsletter as well to like share that out with the community.
Awesome. 80% is great. Open.
Yeah. we were joking that we think it helps that we have a photo of student government at the front, and so our friends will text us like, "Oh, we saw your face in our email today." Yeah.
I'll be like, "Yeah, I know. I saw my face too."
A little bit more of an incentive to open it up.
Yeah, literally.
Awesome. Well, two of your other platforms were mental health and access and autonomy, and both kind of in different ways we're dealing with aspects related to CMHC or UT's counseling and mental health services and expanding those services in different ways. Were y'all able to partner with CMHC and expand services?
Yeah, very well. Yeah. You wanna?
Yeah, I'll start. Chris Bronson, the best. He's been our main point of contact at CMHC, and we've actually gotten so much done. So I feel like I could start talking about it. Grace will tag on. It's probably one of the most exciting things that we're one of the most important things that we're excited about. So one of our things that we came in wanting to do was mental health modules. So if you remember, 4 years ago, at the beginning of freshman year, you have to do alcohol, EDU, and sexual assault modules. And so there's just been, it's college, so there's a lot of people have mental health struggles going on, even if they don't talk about it. And so we wanted to have mental health modules implemented into that at the beginning of the year, and then also you're able to go back and look at resources that are there for you that are UT specific. But we went through a whole process of looking through videos, seeing which ones worked, figuring that out, and then once we got the okay for that to go with UT, Grace goes to meetings for the UT system, and she brought it up to all the other student leaders from the UT system and got their input, and then they ended up wanting it as well. So we're able to have these mental health modules at all the UT system schools, which is really exciting.
Mm-hmm. We worked. Chris Brownson is the Vice President of Vice President of Health and Wellbeing for the CMHC. I think also touching on just mental health generally and working with the CMHC, we had a great relationship from the start. We met with him at a meet and greet in April of last year, and ever since then pitched him our ideas. We met with him after, set a calendar to kind of just monthly meetings, and then it's now become bi-weekly meetings of understanding the CMHC and their how they function, but also how we can play a role in that, and really connecting students to those resources, because we also realize that it's not about the amount of resources, it's just putting them in the hands of students. And so that's what we hope to do through the modules. And not only do they touch upon the institution's resources at each of these UT system schools, but they also kind of share just different mental health topics generally for educational purposes of what to do in the event of emergency, how you can have conversation with peers about mental health struggles. So really excited that they're going to be this coming fall at each of the institutions, including they're going to be mandatory for each of the schools, with the exception of 2 or 3 that are opting for optional. And they've had really great success with making these mandatory modules for students. I think they have a 95% rating of students engaging in them. So it's really great that we're putting these resources in the hands of so many students.
Yeah, and you guys were able to expand even beyond UT with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's really cool.
Thank you.
What specifically will be in those modules?
So they'll have each institution's resources will be linked there. Given that they're required, you have to go through every link, and it's ensuring that students are actually paying attention and reaching these resources. So they'll have, for us, the CMHC, and then Healthy Horns and other programs at UT, as well as safety lines of who to call for. We have a suicide line that you can call in the event of emergency. So different resources, but also they touch upon different mental health topics. So I believe one is eating disorders,
social media
use, and cyberbullying and things. And so each of those topics, they also kind of share about what to do and who to talk to if you're having that. And
not even yourself. It talks about if you notice it in your friends as well.
Mm-hmm.
So they're very college focused.
Awesome. Well, that's great to hear. I wish I won't be here to see the modules. I could have seen them. So you guys had also talked about kind of having a point person to help people, excuse me, through things like class absence notifications and things like that, or expanding to long-term counseling services through the university. Were those things you were able to kind of start to work on as well?
So through the CMHC, in our growing relationship, we kind of learned about the bounds of these long-term counseling and realizing the feasibility of that. For right now, it was more so putting what we have in the hands of students rather than expanding that. I know also there's different ongoing processes at the CMHC, but it kind of all goes back to funding and what we're able to do. And through our term, we had a conversation about the feasibility of those projects, and given budgets and things, it didn't seem to be within reach, but I'm curious to see if it could be down the line. And it's just all based on what resources are being used and how we could navigate them. And
then with the class absence notification, we've begun working on that with the provost, and then a bit of transition and whatnot. So just collaborating with the provost and faculty council to kind of continue that and see what even ground we can get on.
It was definitely it was a discussion also within Dean of Students, and I know Senate kind of we've been in similar rooms talking about it, especially specifically within the President's Student Advisory Council, PSAC. We work with Senate there too, as well as the current president. So I think that it's definitely been a topic, and we also mentioned it with President Hartzell a few times, so wondering to see if the possibility of that, and I think we actually have a meeting regarding that in a few weeks too.
Okay, so starting to plant the seeds, maybe
Yeah.
something that could happen in the future.
And make it continuous.
I know it's also, the Dean of Students, Katie McGee, has also, we've shared concerns with her about the process, and she's kind of been building a team to help start an initiative, because I think her office is kind of, the Dean of Students is also helpful with class absence forms and things, and so trying to work with like student emergency services on that as well.
Okay, so putting the wheels in motion a bit.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. So moving more to like that access and autonomy platform, you guys had talked about expanding like hygiene products in women's restrooms and partnering with the Women's Resource Agency to accomplish things like that.
Yeah.
What did that partnership with them end up looking like, and what were y'all able to do?
Yeah, sure. So I'm going to start with our update with continuing from the last Executive Alliance to now is we finally found a brand for the tampons and pads and as well as like the machines that are going to be put into the bathrooms. And so those are going to start right before spring break, and then hopefully by the end of spring break they'll be put into all of the restrooms. They were saying it takes about an hour to put in each machine. I'm not sure about the technicalities of that, but they said it should be done by the end of spring break, which is really exciting. And so that should be continuous there.
Our input on that like conversation of what brand to use was emphasizing the need for, with so much research coming about like heavy metals and things within tampons, we really wanted to find a company that is safe for students, and we were advocating for, even if it might be more expensive, this is what we think students deserve and need. So we were able to advocate for that, and that's actually the product that ended up being selected. So we're really excited about that. That's just I don't know. That's the answer.
Yeah, so they're going to be in all of the restrooms on campus, or?
I think it's about 50 plus. They did it based on, there was some research based on like what bathrooms and campuses or in buildings are used. I think it's 50 plus, including like the WCP and unions and things. Or some bathrooms also currently already have it. I believe Moody has it in some bathrooms and some bathrooms in the union. So we have a map of what bathrooms will have it.
And to clarify, these will be free for students?
Yes. So that's very exciting, because we know how expensive feminine hygiene products can get. So the fact that we're able to just go in and like that'll be really helpful. So I'm excited.
We're also hoping to do, kind of when this happens, kind of telling students what these new machines are in the bathrooms and ensuring that they know that they're free and where it came from, that student government also partnered with this to make it happen. So I'm really happy that we were able to kind of continue that initiative from last year and put it into action. Yeah.
Awesome. And there's a plan in place to kind of make sure these are always stocked, things like that, keep it going.
That was also a priority in the discussion. I think that they are partnering with specific maintenance services at the university to ensure that, I think they're going to put them on like the cleaning services cart so that they're the people restocking them. We also took them into consideration when selecting the product that they go in, so how they help people who are filling them will know that it's empty or not, whether to restock. So it was definitely taken into consideration.
So was this something that kind of came out of SG's budget, or that you guys worked with other like offices on?
It's not within SG. I don't know the specific office, I'm totally blanking, but there's a specific department at the university that is funding it. It's a pilot program, so they received the funding, and so it doesn't come within SG's budget at all.
So, well, that's even better.
Yeah.
Perfect. Is there anything else you wanted to add about access and autonomy or mental health?
No. I'm just excited about the things that I feel like both of those things are something that will like kind of leave, like is something we'll leave behind that people will keep like using and think of, especially the mental health modules. So I'm just excited for those resources to like be shared.
Yeah, and it's exciting that you guys are putting in these processes that are going to continue in the future. So moving to kind of food accessibility and food distribution, you guys had food distribution on your platform as well as education, and it seems like the Food Security Agency kind of spearheaded a lot of these efforts. Yeah. I saw you guys had some food distribution last semester. I wasn't sure about this semester.
Yeah, they had one last week and they ran out in 5 minutes, actually.
Yeah.
So
it was great.
Well, can you talk about what that food distribution process looks like?
Yeah, for sure.
They have a certain budget that given that they're an agency, they apply for funding, and they have been really great at maximizing that budget through these grocery distribution processes. So they'll go and purchase healthy options for students, and they advocate or they put on social media of their time and everything where they'll be set up, and I think that it was like $2,000 worth
Yeah.
of groceries that were gone in 5 minutes. It really shows how many students really need those resources. For within the food security topic, we also have really partnered with the UT Outpost. They have seen an unprecedented amount of students who are going in and really addressing that need for more resources. And so we've worked with the Dean of Students to maximize like food resources for students there.
And
you can
both
share a little bit.
So also, I just wanted to share both the FSA, so Food Security Agency, and Outpost have, of course, like healthy options, fresh options, shelf-stable options, excuse me, and like snacks. Because, like, you know, college kids like all of these things, and we're not going to be healthy all the time, so we need something to snack on as well. And then back to the UT Outpost, like Grace was talking about, they've also started so this kind of stemmed from like our Red River food fight with OU, which sadly we lost, but we got to gain a great relationship with the OU president and vice president, which has been great to just collaborate and see how, you know, although it's OU, how we do things and how we're so similar in certain ways as well. And so we did that. We sadly lost, but we also learned.
Even though we lost, though, we still got over 2,000 pounds worth of food donated.
Which is great. Yeah. But we also learned the method of using technology, right? So we learned about using an Amazon link, which is super cool. So now the UT Outpost takes in donations through an Amazon link, and you like place the order online and it goes straight to the UT Outpost door. So it's very easy because it's like no middleman, and who doesn't use Amazon now? So that's pretty exciting too, to have this like new method.
Right, that's really interesting.
Yeah. The Food Security Agency, also to brag on them, they set up a grocery like shuttle. So it's at a specific time every weekend. I don't know if every weekend, but they have a schedule. They take you at a set time from West Campus to a grocery store, and they all leave and will take you right back to your West Campus apartment. That's really been a great way to emphasize that students don't have an accessible grocery store here. So I'm really proud of that. They're able to take those students who don't have cars or don't have a means of getting to a grocery store straight to that. So that's been a really fantastic initiative of theirs as well.
Yeah. So with the grocery distribution, was it they were using kind of their funding for their agency to go out and get these resources for students?
Yeah, so that's what they were taking, the funding for the agency to go buy all of the groceries. You also got a cute little FSA student government grocery bag, which is super cute. And then students would just get in line and kind of work the way through I'm not going to say assembly line because you're not assembling anything, but like the line of like choose your options and choosing what you want. So.
Do you know how much food they distributed or how many students they were able to reach?
I think there's specific numbers on how many students, but they do it very often.
Yeah.
So I think that they said about 2,000 to 3,000 students at minimum that they're reaching, given that there's been so many distributions. So very, very proud of them. It's great.
And it's on Speedway, so it's very convenient.
Is there anything else you want to add about food accessibility?
I think that's
No,
good.
yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Well, your final platform was career development, and you guys had talked about educational programs as one of the aspects of this platform. So and I think there was a workshop, financial wellness, that was it the Women's Resource Agency held?
No,
I think it was, who the hell had that?
I don't remember,
One of the-
but one of the agencies.
Financial wellness.
Sorry, there's so many.
But the important part is there was a workshop.
Yeah.
Got it. So how did this and other programs kind of help students?
Yeah, for sure. Also, there was also like a resume workshop that was last semester. We've had a good amount of like different workshops that kind of hit things that college students might need or like most often like kind of wonder about. And those have been pretty good. I think the turnout on those have been pretty good too. Those are one of the things as well that like Grace and I were like, okay, we want to get this done and could delegate to someone else or kind of, and then, you know, check in, make sure this is how we kind of imagined it or thought it was going to run. And then they go and it's hands off and it's rolling great. We love it. So yeah.
We also, under the exec branch, we also have policy directors. One of them started a Did You Know series that's on our social media, and that is sharing resources for career development to students through this fun series. So one of them was sharing a Horns Connection program that connects you with Becomes resources and applications and things online. So very proud of that program, and it also emphasizes putting current resources that we have that are just not well known and might not be just easily accessible, so making them more accessible by letting students know more about it. As well as working with Senate on these topics through PSAC and talking about, I mean, we've introduced the topic of different career development programs that could happen at the university. There's actually a lot of career development shifts right now happening within the flags department, and also between the provost and the president. So we've been able to be in those rooms and have those conversations and sharing student input on flags and what students could do or what students want in terms of skills building and things. And so been very fortunate to share student concerns on those topics and hoping to see more career development changes as we're able to work with admin on this growth.
Yeah. So one of your other kind of bigger goals was creating like an app for Texas career engagement. Were you guys able to work with them and create an app or do something else to kind of get their programs out there?
So they have an app, and we're still kind of in conversation as to like how to figure out we said we wanted to follow Macomb, so just still in conversation of how to figure out how to like make that and kind of distribute it to, the larger UT community. Before President Jay Hartzell left, he was talking about one of his main points was like career, I forget what his wording was, but kind of the same type of thing. So just the collaboration of trying to get resources out and finding the best possible way to do this for students. So we're still in communication for that one.
We wrote that, and then an app was created literally a month later that was for all of UT. So we've been in rooms where we're talking about how we can make that app more accessible to students and what resources for students could be on that app. So whether that's a student calendar or student activities calendar that shares what student organizations are hosting things on campus, and with that we'd also share what student government is doing. Really building that connection. There's one more thing. Yeah.
Is it like a university app or
like
a career services
It's
app?
a university app that we found out about my UT
at
the beginning of the year. My granddad actually texted us about it. Grace and I were like, what is this? He was like, look, I got this app. I'm going through all the events. We were like, okay, so shout out to granddad for the whole reason why we learned about this app. But since that's already there, you don't even know about it. So it's not, like the UT community doesn't know about it that much. And so we're trying to find ways to like make it useful, as well as like add in the different things that we want from like for the career like point and whatnot. So how we can tie in multiple things to this app that more students will actually use it and find it useful in their like day-to-day needs.
We've also connected with emphasizing the need for Texas One Stop to truly be like a one-stop for all campus resources, and you can go to Campus One Stop and it's links to everything. We want to centralize that within the MyUT app as well.
Interesting. So I just found out about this app, and I'm definitely going to look it up, but do you know what is available on there right now?
So the reason why I found out about it was because during Welcome Week, Granddad was sending us all the activities. Okay. So all of the school activities or like events are on there. And then there's a few other things, but I can't quite remember. I haven't looked at it in a while.
It doesn't have also like student org activities, so we're trying to implement that as well. It's just activities that are hosted like career fairs and stuff like that.
By the school.
Okay, that's interesting. A place to start.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, well, your other platform within this kind of career development was career exploration as a part of academic advising. Were you all able to work with the advising offices? So that's
a huge project that we're working on now. I'm currently sit on an academic curriculum advising committee. We have a lot of conversations there about the flag system and making that more of a skills-based, credential. So we're really having that career exploration discussion, and being on that committee of advisors and faculty members is really a great place to do so. So it is also another planting seeds conversation, and we're not necessarily the people who are initiating that project because it is at a larger level, but we are the students who are sharing student concern in on those conversations. And so I would say student government still plays a role in that way in helping with that project for sure.
And not only that, but also like advising in general. We often hear some colleges have better advising than other colleges, and so just trying to speak to like the provost and those type of people to kind of figure out what's going on with advising and how to like make it an even playing field among all of the colleges, so that every advisor, like every student, feels as though their advisor is helpful.
Okay, so this is kind of one of those things where you guys have the ear of the administration, so you're more passing along.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're working with his name is Art, but he's initiating that project, and we are able to kind of work with him on that. Just repeated myself.
That's great. Is there anything you want to add about career development?
Oh, I'm excited. Yeah. Time to go into a career, I guess.
I guess so. Awesome. Well, that was your guys' platform you guys ran on, so thank you for kind of addressing.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, it was.
And of course, things change, and you guys created that platform a year ago, and you know things don't always go to plan. So, was there anything you guys did that wasn't part of the original platform that you wanted to talk about?
Not that I can really think. I mean, I think probably our athletics relationship.
Oh, yes.
We've gained a great relationship with athletics. We actually have another meeting with them on Friday to, you know, just help them out with figuring out the student seating situation for football games and how students can have an input on how those, my accent came out, on how those type of events work. So we're looking forward to that meeting and, you know, strengthening that relationship with them, especially because football did so great this season. So that's been exciting because, I mean, that wasn't on one of our platform points, but it was something that the students voiced concerns about. And so since we are the voice of the students, we were like, okay, got to get on it. Let's figure it out. But yeah.
I think, something that wasn't an explicit policy platform is that those relationships that we were able to create this year. And it's just allowed us to, I think one of the predominant goals that we've achieved is really emphasizing that student voice and demanding that we are heard in these rooms and really ensuring that we have these close relationships. And one of those being athletics. You framed it so well of like that was a huge concern at the beginning of the year. And so we stepped up, emailed, we're like, we need a meeting to share student concern, and there hadn't really been an athletics student government relationship for a long time, and so really emphasizing that need for students to address, or for athletics to address student concern in, I mean, we're the ones going to the games, and
So what is that looking like in addressing the student section concerns?
So Friday we're talking about just addressing those concerns in that if students who we're sharing that students want a larger student section. We're sharing statistics about like how many students have been able to get into games, and we're also, given our close relationship with the SEC, looking at how other SEC schools have done it. There's different legislation that's been passed within student government already, and we're kind of, on behalf of those students, sharing their concerns. And then we're also talking about I was just going to say, we're also trying to figure out what's feasible, right? So athletics kind of knows more about, if we can't expand the student section, if we can't, so if can't is the thing, then we're like, okay, so what's another solution? How can we go about this? Like, what about ticket pooling? Like, how can we make it to where ticket pooling is fair? Although it's randomized, it's like some people might pool a ticket for one game versus someone might get a ticket for like every single game but one, right? So like, how do we make the randomized like ticket pooling a bit more fair so that everyone can go to like maybe an equal amount of games? This meeting is also going to be really important because after they told us to reconnect after the football season as well, about a potential committee for student concern. And that we have called it the Student Athletics Committee, and that would be kind of not only our voices can be heard on behalf of all students, but students who are passionate about these athletics issues, whether that's football, but also baseball, basketball, these various swim and dive, like different topics that within athletics that are, we're talking about just different student concerns about these different things and allowing for students to feel like they have a role in a huge part of the university.
So is this kind of line of communication between student government and Texas athletics something you guys have kind of re-implemented?
Yeah.
A long time ago, I think maybe 2007, I might have just made that number up, but they had a really strong relationship, and they're actually the ones who I think initiated the
ticket pulling time, apparently.
Yeah, the ticket pulling time, and they said they walked in and were like, all of us have tests during this time, like, please change it. So there has been that relationship in the past, and now we're just trying to create it again to be able to allow for concerns to be addressed.
Yeah.
That's great. Have they been receptive? Do you think these changes will be made?
Yeah, they've been very receptive. It just depends. I'm going to say yes, changes will be made. Exactly which ones, we're not sure yet. I think that's why this Friday meeting will be very important to think about, talk about the feasibility and which things are available to be changed. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's really interesting. That's great to hear. What was a challenge you guys maybe faced that you weren't expecting coming into this?
I'm not going to lie. I knew this was going to take a lot of time. I didn't know how much time. Some days Grace and I are like, of course we also have classes, but some days when we're not in class, our other time will be spent with meetings from sometimes 8 a.m. to 9 p.m., right? And so it's just like, that's truly a lot of time to put on a student. It's like a full-time job sometimes. So just the normal life struggles of like making sure you're eating, making sure you're getting rest while still trying to manage like having time for yourself, having a social life, like school, your what's next. So just kind of, playing a balancing act of all of those things. That was a little tricky.
Yeah. Completely agree.
Are you guys full-time students as well?
Yes.
Wow, okay.
15 hours of class and 10 hours of lab.
Yeah.
So the
That's
challenge
two
is
jobs on its own.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm interning right now, so
yeah.
it's a lot.
It's a lot. We're like also trying to prepare for graduation.
Yeah.
And we're looking forward to the transition and training the new alliance. But it's also, I think, we are very wanting to reach the students as much as possible, and seeing some students frustrated with not being able to reach us, and we're like, no, we're really trying. Like we want to connect with you in the newsletter, and so
everywhere else, all of our information's public.
Right, and so if you want to connect with us and you feel like you've been limited in that, like that's also been kind of hard to face. That some students still feel like they can't reach us, when we've really created like the newsletter, and reaching 50,000 students obviously is a tasking effort. So just really trying to connect with as many students as possible, but really realizing we're can't have arms in every different place at a time. So
and of course, Grace and I could have gotten a little bit more sleep, but we really, 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 really wanted to make sure like we came into our positions and got things done. We wanted to make sure by this time we were very happy with all the things that we've done, and that it would actually, affect a lot of the students on campus in a positive way. So, I mean, I'll risk a little bit of sleep if we're leaving some good things behind.
Yeah.
So I'm happy
I will
with it.
sleep when our term is done.
Exactly.
Well, kind of along those lines, is there one specific thing you're most proud of or really hoping will continue and leave a lasting impact?
I think it's tangible and also intangible. I
Yeah.
think the tangible is, I think, what you were going to say.
The mental health.
Yeah.
I was going to say our mental health modules that we spoke about earlier, and then intangible, I think our relationships with administrators. I think, honestly, that's one of the most important things. Like, you really can't get any work done in these higher student leadership positions without having a good relationship with the administrators, because they're the ones that, like, press the okay and, like, hand it off to the next person, as well as, like, give us these different connections to get these things done.
Yeah.
So I think both of those have been great.
Yeah, we have monthly meetings with President Hartzell, or we had monthly meetings with President Hartzell, now with President Davis, and so I think those admin connections have been really important, because they're at a level to where they're also able to create change, and we want that change to reflect student concern. And
we see the dean of students
Weekly.
almost every day.
Yeah.
We see the VPSA weekly. So, like, we really do have great relationships with these administrators, which has made for a great term.
And those relationships are also, like, having a great relationship with the students can go so far if you also have those relationships with administrators. We've spoken at faculty council. We both are sitting members on that. So it's really important to bridge these connections, and that's, I think, the entire purpose of our jobs is to really address concerns and deliver them. And we've been able to create action through advocacy and awareness of student concerns. So very proud of that effort as well.
Yeah.
Awesome. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
In general?
Yeah, about your term.
I just feel like we've really done exactly what our slogan was.
Yeah,
I feel like we've united
yeah.
together. I don't
Us
know.
too.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
remember what we said at the beginning of the year, but last year this time.
rewatch.
But like Grace and I have truly become best friends now,
Yeah.
and so coming from like two people who didn't even know each other and weren't friends before, sometimes I feel like we're seeing each other 24/7, and like having all this work can make or break someone, but like it truly brought a best friend into my life, which
Yeah.
is kind of exciting. I know that's so sappy. But, like, that's kind of exciting on that part. And I just really feel like we have united together. I feel like we've kind of turned student government around. I mean, at least that's what I'm hearing from, different people on campus, different administrators who have like seen how student government has been. I think we've made people a little bit more interested in the work of student government, and then even students who haven't been so interested before have maybe, tapped in a little further, whether it's been the newsletters or these recent campaigns. But
Right.
yeah,
I think it's also reflective in how many people are running this year. There's 6 candidates, which is really exciting. Last year there was 3 or 4.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So really excited to see students who are wanting to get involved and take our jobs. But I think Unite Together is really what we set out to do, and through all of these different policy platforms and achieving them is really, I think, how we've been able to do it. And not only uniting together as a student body, but uniting together as a whole school, with admin included, faculty, just everyone coming together in common goals and just making the university better.
even alumni sometimes too.
Yeah.